I'm glad that you're all here. I want to start off by giving a special welcome and mention Mr. Peter Brown, who you just see. He comes out with 6 men in his wheelchair in order to honor us and to honor the history of Harambee and the general condition of black people in the world. Can I have another round of applause? I'm to hear and say to talk about the land. But it's bigger than that. In the sense that we are a people. And we've had a long journey. And in that journey, we have met many ups and downs and obstacles. But nevertheless, we've kept on. My son, Harambee Andrews, has picked up the baton and has decided that he wants, together with us, if we are prepared to run with him, to rebuild the Harambee Organisation and to continue our struggle, which is necessary and important to all of us. I've got to start by reminding you of who we are. They call our parents the Windrush generation. That means I have the son of one of the Windrush generation. You may be a son yourself or a daughter, or you may be a grandson of the Windrush generation. Can I remind you, the Windrush generation came to England in order to rebuild it after the war. And they met terrible conditions in Jamaica, in England and thereabout. I, as a child, saw some of the things they had to go through. And they forgave, they stood firm. They fought off the rioters of Nottingham, and they had put up to and suffer poor and terrible housing. They suffered racism in its purest and most dramatic forms. They had to live on limited earnings, low wages. Not only did they have to look after themselves, their wives, their children back home. They had to pull themselves up because the next step they had to bring the children from the West Indies into England. So if you imagine the father sleeping in one bed and his friend sleeping in the same bed. At daytime, he sleeps at night, he sleeps at day. It was a horrendous condition. But they forgave, they stood firm. They managed under those conditions to circumnavigate poverty, to bring their children into England, to teach their children the method of survival and how one generation must move on from the next. And we learned They stood firm, we learned. We were children growing up in the singing in the sweet 60s. We joined the melting pot. And we enjoyed rock and roll, we enjoyed the minister, and the motor and all those things that the singing system. But there became a time when we became young men. And we wondered, what are we doing? Who are we? Who are we? What are we doing here? And suddenly we realized the society was in a racist society. They had no program for us. The essence was they want us to continue as our parents did. Low wages, no murmuring, just carry on. Carry on regardless. Build the capitalist machine. But we said no. We looked at ourselves, we looked at the world around us. At that point, the African America was rising up in arms. The African continent was rising up for liberation. We had to take stock. And we decided, we as young men, we had to stand firm and we had to build ourselves and build our communities. And we began to look at the issue of Black consciousness. And we finally were able to research our history. We relied on Montessori, we relied on François, and many other heroes of the past. And from that, we took to the streets. We marched against apartheid in South Africa. We linked arms with the revolutionaries in Africa, seeking to liberate themselves from the yoke of colonialism. We welcomed the Zimbabweans who left Rhodesia amongst us and in our hearts. And we put our arms around them and we assisted the best we could in order to assist them to advocate their struggle. We supported MPLA in Angola, Frelimo in Mozambique, and we joined the African struggle, not picking up guns ourselves, but carrying out the work that was required to let other people outside the continent and those in the belly of the beast understand the nature of our oppression and the nature of our struggle. But it couldn't stop there, and it never stopped. We developed in such a way that after a period of time we could recognize ourselves as an entity in itself, in that we had become Black Britons, and Black Britons meant something. We do not accept second-class citizenship. We do not accept racism. We call for equality of purpose and a future for ourselves. And this went on for some time. In about 1974, I met up with John Benjamin, Ben Snyder, and we formed Harambee. But we had now a mature view of the world. And we knew we had to build institutions in our community for ourselves in order to build and develop ourselves. But it was more than that. We are the children of ex-slaves. We do not have historical wealth. We cannot rely on a big industrialist to put money in our pockets or to support our program. But we had, for nearly 20 years or more, paid our tax pounds to the exchequer, and we decided local and central government had to fund our bills, and we agitated. And from that, we set up a hostel to deal with and remove our young people who were sleeping on the street, sleeping in the park, sleeping with their friends when they were here, 5, 6 in a room in the night, just to get social office. And we formed the Harambee Hostel. The building still remains in Amsterdam, in Handsworth, now taken over and run by others for the same purpose. But we didn't stop. Our mothers had to leave their children with childminders. They got up at 6 o'clock in the morning, 6:30 at night, they were collecting their children from childminders. Nursery education was crucial. Education generally was crucial. So we formed the Maurice Andrews Nursery, and that ran for in excess of 30 years. And you will hear and see during the process of this afternoon some of the things that took place at the nursery. You will see a number of staff who work and committed themselves tirelessly to the development of our children. And they'll tell you about those children who have gone through to become teachers and masters and other professionals. The work was well worth it. But again, we couldn't stop because our problems were real and plentiful. So the next step, we started the first Black Housing Association in England. And the purpose was to provide low-cost housing to our people. And this ran for some time. Maybe someone else can speak to it. We face in this society, especially young people, a terrible existence with law enforcement and the general population view of us. We were black. All of us, no matter which island you were from, you were Jamaican. And what that means, you was a violent hoodlum, to be feared. The police, they were on our backs day and night. We set up an advice center in Road Lane, Handsworth, to teach our people their rights, to attend court and find appropriate lawyers for black people who were being incarcerated, quite often, and trumped up charges. But we didn't stop there. We went on to fill immigration applications to make our people's citizenship of England, therefore protecting their rights to remain. We started a bookshop in the same building so that we can self-educate and advance our struggle. And we continued. We resurrected a Sabbath school program previously started by B. Brown and the Harambee Organisation, and we run some school. to ensure that our kids have some break from the innocence. We send young people and elders to Ashanti in Ghana in order to make connection with our African brothers on the continent and to educate ourselves of the nature of Africa. We undertake a mental health project because at that time, and perhaps still now, our young people, our women were suffering mental illness. If you come into a society so crushed and crucified by racism, you are going to suffer psychological and mental illnesses. So we did what we could, but our major Achilles heel was that we had to rely upon government funding. We did not have the control, so we knew we could not lose over time. And certainly, as time went by, funds gradually being withdrawn and our program reduced. Right? That is the background in which you come before us today to understand the history of how we got to this point 15 years hence. Now for us, some of us believe we have secured ourselves and the struggle is no longer necessary. But we've got to understand what our young people knew and understood, because though they had put up with the conditions under which we live for in excess of 25 to 30 years, it came to a point where they realized, as we did in the 60s, that they still was holding us back, keeping us down in the gutter. And they rioted in 1981. South London was a burden. P.C. Bookshop lost his head. Lord Tubman and Lord Pearson, back the youth, they accepted that the cause of black fire and the condition of black people was institutional racism. And any of you, if you're a student, you can read the opinion of Lord Tubman. It's in the law report. You can read the report of the other law. It's available, it's a public view. But by Tubman backing, the government had to change their tack. Suddenly, black people were getting jobs in prison. Black people were getting more jobs in social services. Black people were getting more government jobs, full stop. The society began to turn its head round. Difficult is, or was, that those of us who are the beneficiaries of such felt comfortable. We had made it. We now have good salaries. They've forgotten. Racism does not walk through the door. You have to keep at it. You've got to fight racism endlessly until it disappears. No, you may ask, what is the purpose of me delivering this ditty about our history? Why tell me? I'm confident I'm all right. You know? Well, the fact is, racism has gone away. Capitalism, racism goes hand in hand. You know? I'm in Jamaica now, and I come to England, and I walk on the Soho Road, and I can understand the black people unless they are refugees from Africa. The African Caribbean community of the Black Britons that we know has virtually disappeared from the streets of Soho Road. And I must remind you, this is not the first time this has happened to us. In the 17th and 18th centuries, we were numerous in England. They whitened us until when we came here in 1940 to support the efforts against the Germans. There were no blacks. Just as we see on Soho Road. So the future is important. Now that we now have a high coming on the street, many of you may find you're out of work. And the kind of employment at risk is as far up the chain as doctors. So don't be complacent and think everything is all right. God is not. No. You may think I'm preaching pessimism. That's not the objective. One of our objectives is Marcus Garvey's objective, Africa. When John and I started around here, we were somewhat fortunate. The 6th Pan-African Congress was to be held in Tanzania, and we joined the British delegation to the 6th Pan-African Congress. We sat at the feet of Julius Nyerere, the president, the author of African socialism. We started this traditional school, and we learned from him the nature of our struggle. We came back emboldened, and that helped fuel our work within the black community. So in addition to all the things we say, we publicize. We went around the country, we connected with other black organizations, and we raised consciousness. Because we knew that the struggle is a global, not merely a city struggle, it's a national struggle, it's a global struggle against racism. And those are part of the stuff about the spirit today. The question is, what now? What now? What now? Look around. The Jews, they have historical capital. They can buy your Jamaica. They can run a country. They have influence in the Middle East, for example, where they are behind the American supply of guns to kill Palestinians. The first thing I say to you is that we have to stand up and stand behind the people of Gaza. We've got to denounce. We've got to denounce the American support for the massacre that's taking place on that little strip of land. We had over time supported a national struggle of people around the world. For example, we march against the war in Vietnam. We are a people not only focused on Africa, but focused on world affairs. And I'd like to remind you, we have heroes such as Francois, and he took the view that we, out of relative obscurity, i.e. slavery and everything that went, everything we've been through, we've got to discover our mission, fulfill it, or betray it. Our brothers in Africa today say, come home, come and help us build Africa. I say to you, we have to join forces, unite, and build a different world. We cannot afford to follow the Chinese, the Americans, the British, or any other race, because we know that this is the European tribes that invariably creates war and discontent around the world. We've got to join with our African brothers and turn a new page. We've got to build Africa and take on the leadership of the world, nothing less. And Marcus Garvey said, we can do it. And I agree with Marcus, we can do it. Let us do it.